We've been buzzing about this ourselves. Let me bring in the director of the Harvard Global Health Institute, Dr. Ashish Jha. And Dr. Jha, I'll be honest, when we booked you this morning, we were going to have a lot of different questions we were going to throw at you. There's only one story, and you're actually quoted prominently in it, and that's this Atlantic investigation went up just after midnight this morning. The headline is, how could the CDC make that mistake? I believe the headline is your quote, Dr. Jha. Here's the bottom line. Apparently, all the testing metrics that we've seen, that the CDC is combining diagnostic tests and antibody tests as we try to figure out positive cases, hospitalizations, all of this stuff. We had caught Virginia doing this and they stopped, but now it apparently means we're doing this nationally. What does this mean for all of the models we've been using for the last 6 weeks?
Yeah, so Chuck, thanks for having me on. This is a mess. Look, we need to know how much virus testing we're doing because we want to know how many infections there are, who's infected. And then we do antibody testing for a totally different set of reasons. We want to know who's immune, where has the virus been. Antibody testing is really looking in the rearview mirror. The virus testing is kind of looking ahead. And if you combine them, they both become uninterpretable. You can't understand what's going on. And I think a lot of states have been feeling pressure to up their numbers of tests. And I don't think people are doing this nefariously. My sense is out of a sense of pressure, they're just combining these things. And so I have no idea whether all the gains that we've been seeing in testing is all essentially an artifact of this combining, or is this a small problem, a medium problem? But the fact that the CDC has been doing this is particularly stunning because they have great experts. They know better. And so clearly there's some external pressure they are facing to try to up their numbers of tests. And that's the problem here.
So, in reading the whole story, it appears as if since not every state is mixing, what do you think? 70% of this data is decent, but 30% of it is bad? I'm one of those things. If you blend 80% of a good thing and 20% of a bad thing, it's all going to taste like you know what. So I don't think that that's a good idea in my world of politics. I can't imagine it's a good idea here.
No, we should have no blending at all. Both of these are interesting pieces of data. How much virus testing are we doing? Because that's what really determines whether we can open up our economy safely, whether you can go out and get a cup of coffee and feel comfortable the guy next to you isn't infected. You're going to get that from the virus testing. The antibody testing, again, very important. Totally separate, and we got to keep them totally separate from each other. And 3 weeks ago, I hadn't even dreamed anybody would ever mix the two. And when I first heard about it, I thought there has to be some mistake. This is too obvious. You can't mix these things. And now I'm finding out it wasn't just Virginia. It's happening in many states across the country. It's a huge problem.
About how many tests are going back to the CDC? I mean, who is this greatly affecting? Is it all of the states, all 50 states, or 1 or 2 or 3 states in particular?
So we're just learning about this. And we know at least a few states. And again, the folks at the Atlantic, the journalists at the Atlantic have been doing a phenomenal job of tracking this down. So at least a few states are doing it. It looks like maybe Pennsylvania, maybe Texas, Florida, some big states, right? So important states in terms of numbers. My sense is there are plenty of states who know better and know that this is not a good idea. But we really have to sort this out immediately and separate these data. Otherwise, we're going to be in a lot of trouble in figuring out where we are as a country.
These are battleground states. Well, a couple of them at least that you mentioned, Florida and Pennsylvania. But Florida has done reopening quicker than others. Texas has done reopening quicker than others. Are you suggesting there might be political pressure?
No, I don't know what motivates people. What I'm worried about is that somebody has done the mixing and it has given people a false sense of confidence of how much testing they have. And they might be making decisions about opening up with really inadequate data, or let's say faulty data. And so the most important thing is you can make whatever decision you want, but let's all agree on the book of facts of what the data say and then decide whether it's prudent or not. And we may in fact just be looking at faulty data in those states.
All right, so final question is this, Dr. Jha. We already thought we were a bit behind on testing, though we're sort of now at the point, it seems as if we don't ramp up testing to, 10 times what we're doing, then there's really no sort of the testing we're doing is the testing we should do? I mean, what kind of testing should we be doing at this point in time now that everybody is opened up in some form in this country?
Yeah. So the way to think about this is, it's the number is, the number we've estimated is should be about 900,000 a day, but that basically comes to the notion that you want to be able to test high risk people. You want to be able to test anybody with symptoms. I would have said that we're doing 300,000 to 400,000 before I knew that we were mixing in antibody testing. I'm not even sure exactly how many we're doing. What I know is we need to do a lot more if we're going to, we can open up with whatever number we want. The question is, can we stay open and keep people safe? And for that, we need a lot more testing than we have.
Man, there's got to be a lot of modelers and a lot of epidemiologists that are pulling their hair out today. Anyway, Dr. Jha, thank you for your expertise on this. Katy, over to you.
The number one rule in communication, Chuck, is clarity. In order to get clarity, you got to define your